Hello, my name is Rob Reynolds. Welcome to Mat-073, where today we're going to be looking at our fourth section, Introduction to Algebraic Expressions. And an expression is different than an equation because it does not have an equal sign. So an example of an expression would just be 5x minus 3. We can't combine those. Those are not like terms. We'll get to that a little bit later. But today we're going to talk about how to read a sentence and translate it into a math expression. And we're going to be doing a little bit of substitution for today as well. So you need to know that any kind of a letter is a variable. Sometimes we have things like maybe you've seen the quadratic equation, not the formula, but the equation for a quadratic with graphs or parabola, which we'll cover later, deals with some letters, A, B, and C. Well, if C happens to be, so here's the graph, or here's an example of maybe an equation that you would see, and this 2 here is not a variable. So C represents something called a constant. It's just representing a particular number. So sometimes letters represent just one number. This X here could represent several numbers along the number line. So as X increases, the Y value is changing as well. So X is the variable here, but C would just be called a constant. Here are some words that you need to be familiar with. All of these mean addition. All of these words mean subtraction. Read through this and familiarize yourself with it. And we have words for multiplication and division. I want to point out the word of. Half of 10 is 5, and most students think half of 10 is 5. Could be written like this, which is correct. But another way to write it is 1/2 of 10 is 5. So I want you to see that there's actually a multiplication going on here. What you did not do is half of 10. You did not do half of 10. So of does not mean, because you're saying the word a half. So of does not mean to divide, because this equals 20, and that's not what you mean. So make sure that you know that of means to multiply. 8 less than some number, well, you cannot write that as 8 less than some number because, as you know, 4 minus 5 is different than 5 minus 4. So the order that we subtract in is very important. So if you go 8 less than a number, I like to think about it like 8 less than your age. You would need to know your age first. Well, my age is 50, sadly enough, minus 8. 8 is 8 less than my age. The solution here, 8 less, it could be, 50 is the unknown value, so it would be your age minus 8. Well, your age is unknown, I don't know your age, so we'll put it as some variable, and the author chose T. 5 less than means I'm going to subtract off 5 from something, and it says 43%. Well, 43% could be written as 0.43. The word of, we talked about that before, means to multiply. We usually don't use this X as the multiplication symbol because it looks like a variable. So start using a dot or don't use anything. If I just want to do 5 times 4, I could put it in, put a dot in between, but I could just put both of them in parentheses. 5 times 4 could look like this as well. Of means to multiply. The quotient means to divide. So I'm gonna take the quotient of two numbers. Well, I'll do maybe unknown numbers. We'll use variables x and y. Oh, they used r and s. Again, here are just some examples. The difference of two numbers means to subtract. You can read through these. Half of a number, remember, means the same thing. Half of 10 means the same thing as 10 divided by 2. Students struggle with this concept. It means the same thing. Feel comfortable with that. Alright, so here are some examples where you can look at to try to solve these. It says 6 less than the product of two numbers. I'll give you a chance to try to work that one out. Tell me if you got something like this. You needed the product of two numbers, so the product is r times s. 76% means you're going to probably convert that. Don't write 76% as 76%. We'll change that instead to a decimal. So 76% of means to multiply. Hopefully you had something like this. Feel comfortable with both methods. And then 8 less than twice some number. Give you a chance to try to figure that one out. Hopefully you had something like this. Remember, 8 less than means you do not do 8 minus. That's the error that students want to, they see the word 8 first, and then they want to start with 8. So you cannot do 8 less than twice some number. That's different. Replace the variable with a number when we're doing substitution method. An example of this would be if 83 represents the x value and a 49 represents the y value, then we just say 83 minus 49 and we get 34. Here's another example. You need to know the area formula for a triangle. Hopefully you know what that is. If you don't, I'll give it to you now. But this is something that I would expect you to have memorized. Perhaps you won't even have a formula sheet for your test. This would just be something that the book would assume that you know. So you need some formula knowledge. Area equals 1/2 base times height. That's some geometry information. And then you would go ahead and just plug in, because it's told you that the base is this much, 66.4. And it's telling you that the height is 8. So we're going to plug in the height of 8 here for h, and we're plugging in the base for 6.4 goes here. So it'd be 1/2, pardon me, 1/2 of 6.4 times the height, which is 8, which they've worked out here for you, 25.6. A little bit harder. Here, this time x is 2, so every time you see an x, we're going to plug in a 2. 9 minus 2 cubed plus 6 divided by 2 times, and it says, let's use the 5. I like to put it in parentheses because if it was a -5 and I was squaring it, that would be different. So I'm going to do my exponents, order of operations again. This is a good review of the previous section. 9 minus 8 plus 6 divided by 2, and I'm going to take care of the exponents times 25. Then I'm going to work the problem from left to right, but dealing with multiplication and division first. So I'm going to leave my 9 minus 8. I'll say, well, this comes next. So you don't do multiplication before division. We talked about that last time. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I'm not a big fan of that because it looks like we do multiplication before division, and that's not true. We do it at the same time from left to right. So I'm going to keep doing this from left to right. Plus 3 times 25. So again, 9 minus 8, I'll leave that alone, but I got some multiplication here. Now I'm going to go from left to right. 9 minus 8 is 1. 1 plus 75 is 76. So following the order of operations, I believe the correct answer should be 76